Welcome to Global Studies 9.
Chapter 6, Section 5, Rome and the Roots of Western Civilization. So although Rome fell more than a millennia ago, its cultures, its tradition, its legacy continues to live on in the 21st century. The legacy of the various Greek philosophers, whether it's Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, famous poets like Virgil, historians like Tacitus, their writing would go on to affect many, many generations following their death. The Romans left a legacy when it comes to sewage. They created the aqueducts. This very unique shaped structure used physics and gravity to help move water from one place to another. And various sewage systems later on used aqueducts as sort of the basis of how they would build their own sewage system. Now, the Greeks and the Romans left various structures, but perhaps one of the more famous pieces left by the Romans is the Coliseum, as you can see on the right bottom there, which became the model for various future stadiums around the world. Now, it may sound awfully simple, but having these various entrances and exits allowed mass numbers of people to enter and exit quickly, and that's how various stadiums are modeled today, as you can see here. When it comes to law and the various legal forms in the Western civilization today, so many of the basic tenets are in fact borrowed from the Roman civilization. Things that we would consider just regular, natural, regular part of our laws today, like everyone should be equal and that you're innocent until proven guilty. All of these are based on Roman law. Well, here's a nice little overview of how Greco-Roman ideas in literature, philosophy, government have affected various times in history. I'm not going to go through all of them in detail, but we'll start by looking at literature. So we have things as early as the Odyssey and Iliad by Homer, and later on these various works are adapted by, for example, James Joyce's epic Ulysses. And even as recent as in the 2000s, you have movies that are adaptations of the Odyssey. Or it's not on this table here, but for example, the film Troy came out roughly 10-15 years ago. This was based on the Iliad, written by Homer. Now, the Greeks and Romans had various famous philosophers, as Plato, Socrates, but the one I'm going to focus on here is Aristotle. So Aristotle's various theories have obviously had major impact on biology today, but in the 1200s, 1700s, there's examples of very important historical figures like Kant or Thomas Aquinas utilizing these ideas by Aristotle to create their own ideas. Now in the present day, scholars continue to look at Aristotle's work when they discuss various issues. Finally, government. So Rome was the first to create a representative government. Yes, it has its flaws, like you had to be born in Rome, you had to be a man, but nonetheless, it was the earliest form we saw of sort of this attempted democracy. Since then, we've seen England develop a constitutional monarchy, we've seen the USA base their government based on England, so you can see how it's almost this domino effect where Greece really starts this idea and then other civilizations and eventually nations go on to follow this idea of a government run by its people, at least ideally. Now, the Latin language definitely affects anyone listening to this because I'm obviously speaking in English. And when we look at Latin, you'll notice that it has a lot of similarities to English. And not only that, but there's various phrases that are used in contemporary English that are pure Latin, but most people understand what they mean. For example, carpe diem. For those who've seen the film The Dead Poets Society, I'm sure you remember that, means seize the day. Or other phrases, for example, lawyers often use the phrase pro bono, so it means to do something without charge. Now, I'm sure if you've studied for the SATs, or if you're currently studying for the SATs, you've used various Latin roots, prefixes, and you can see here, by knowing these Latin roots and prefixes, it helps understand words better. For example, if we're looking at chron means time, so therefore chronology, in order, chronometer, synchronize. Other examples include side means to kill or cut down, so homicide, right? You kill someone. For example, anni means year, so anniversary, right? Once a year, you're commemorating it. Annually, once a year. So I want to leave off with this quote by historian R.H. Barrow, who once stated, "Rome never fell because it turned into something even greater, an idea, and achieved immortality." So what Barrow means here is that even though Rome fell, its legacy, its Latin language, its Roman law, its ideas of a representative democracy, these various factors that make Rome Rome continue to live on in the 21st century. Therefore, even though Rome does no longer exist, that in a sense it exists as an idea, and therefore it is immortal. Rome will live on forever.